All right, so we've got a real problem here with unqualified personnel making decisions. When a police officer calls up a hospital ahead of time to have a dope shot already set up, that is an unqualified personnel. That officer is not qualified to ask for those things. It is both immoral and illegal for him as an unqualified, non medical professional to ask any such thing. And it is criminal negligence for any doctor, any hospital staff, period, to administer such thing because an unqualified personnel asked for it. Let's talk about methamphetamines. A lot of kids, they are kids, and their teachers are fucking idiots. They're not qualified to be teachers. They had this great fancy idea in their head. You're an idealist, that's great. But you're also weak-minded. You can't keep the kids' attention because you're weak-minded. You don't know how to tell a fucking story. Now, Miss Michelson, there's a woman who could tell a story. That is a qualified motherfucking teacher right there. She named her daughter Rebel. Hell yeah! We ain't talking about rebel as in the South. We're talking about a straight up rebel. A lot of people associate the word rebel here in the United States with the Civil War. You know, the Revolutionary War, Americans were rebels. Now we got teachers doing similar things. They say, hey, you can't bring your kid back. Guy person type dude, wear a shirt. Make me. When it comes to qualified personnel, when you've got teachers who are telling parents, you need to go get a prescription for Ritalin for your kid, we're not going to let them back in. Well, they may not give your kid Ritalin, they might give them Adderall. Now, mind you, both of these are amphetamines. Adderall contains both types of amphetamines, both types of signature amphetamines that are tested for. However, Ritalin itself is also an amphetamine. So you've got unqualified teachers who are also not qualified as medical personnel dictating whether or not your kid can be in school, dependent upon what? Whether or not they're taking methamphetamines. So then we got people all across the nation taking Adderall, kids and adults alike. A lot of parents are prescribed Adderall. And then when they go in and they have to take a test because they pissed off a cop or because their child got stolen because they're broke, well, you're going to have a false test positive. It's not a false test positive. It's an actual positive. You are taking methamphetamines. Adderall is methamphetamines. So is Ritalin. Now, depending on the test that you take, Ritalin can test positive for methamphetamines. Matter of fact, the tests that are used in, I believe it said 38 states, will possibly be one of those tests. There are at least 12 states in the union that are like, yeah, we don't want any more of those positive tests for bullshit like that. We have enough problems with our court system without having to go through that. But then a lot of y'all think that somebody who works at a hospital must be a doctor or a nurse. No, they have technicians, mental health technicians. These are not mental health technicians. These are fucking kids they hired from Walmart and fucking 7-Eleven. Matter of fact, at Clearview where they killed 2 people doing what they did to me. By the way, they did that to me at the recommendation of police officers. Went out of their way not to listen to me. They've done this nationwide. This isn't just a Colorado thing. This isn't just a Nebraska thing. So then you've got parents who got their kids taken away because their kids tested positive for meth because they're on Adderall. And then they're not allowed to say that their kid's on Adderall because the school made them. Because the school isn't qualified. And then you get to hear the judge tell you the school can't make that decision, the doctor does. Guy person, I can tell you all about Natalie Bollinger, but this isn't about Natalie right now. And although the situation does have quite an effect on the situation that happened with Natalie, because the system fucking sucks, the fact is, right now I'm talking about something else entirely. And you started off with dude, wear a shirt. I want to show you something. Nipples. These are nipples. Get the fuck over it. They're just nipples. Guys have nipples. Girls have nipples. We all have nipples. Get the fuck over it. All right. These are glorified babysitters. When I was at Clearview, and these guys were obviously, now mind you that I have been in structured facilities. I know the difference between a qualified personnel and a fucking babysitter. Now these guys, when I say, hey, you aren't doing your jobs, you're basically just babysitters. There is no one-on-one therapy here. There is group therapy that is set up and managed by former 7-Eleven employees. Totally sounds like they're qualified for that fucking job. And then they want to get pissed off and fucking... Let me explain something to you. One of the staff members there at Clearview, he was an asshole. I told him, dude, you're a fucking glorified babysitter. And he threatened to slam me down on the floor, said, I'm not a babysitter. By the way, he was mean that I need to hate all black men and say that I was targeted because I was white. Should I pretend that I was targeted because I'm white? No, not even fucking close. That dude was just an asshole, and he didn't like me telling him the truth. He wasn't even qualified as a fucking babysitter. Guy person type, relax, I'm just messing with you. Lots of people mess with me. I'm fucking sick of it. You want to come mess with me in person? We'll joke around. We'll have some fun. I'll make you laugh. Guaranteed. But when we've got police officers making medical decisions, when somebody is trying to turn in on an officer, and that officer is allowed to lie and fuck up the situation for another living being because he doesn't want to get in trouble. His pride might get hurt, or he might lose his job and not be able to feed his kids. No, bitch. It doesn't matter at that point if you can feed your kids. You're breaking the law. You're doing illegal and immoral things. You need to be fired from the police force, and your mom or your wife or whoever it is can do what the rest of us have to do when you arrest us for crimes that weren't even fucking committed. While we are sitting there incarcerated for crimes that we didn't commit, and we just have to take it because we're not rich enough to hire a fucking lawyer. And our families were dependent on them paychecks. They got to try to subsidize it somehow. So they got to go through the welfare line because you're a crooked fucking cop. And you want to protect your fellow officers for their wrongdoing because, well, what'll his wife and kids do? What'll his wife and kids do? Fuck his wife and kids. They aren't the ones who did wrong. His wife and kids can go to the bread line like the rest of us. His wife and kids can end up homeless like the rest of us. Sean, that's so cold. No, it's equal. When cops do this to us, regardless of the color of our skin, it fucks up our lives. It fucks up our families' lives. But you get to hide behind that blue line of bullshit when you are not qualified to lick shit off of my fucking boot. Guy person typed, you kind of look like Otis B. Driftwood from the Rob Zombie film The Devil's Rejects. I just had to say it. Yeah, I've been told that I look kind of like, when I shave, I've been told I look like Captain Spaulding. Fuck it. When I was younger, I had people tell me I looked like a white Snoop Dogg from the nose down and like a white Tupac from the nose up. All right, whatever. We all got different features. Nope, I look like a Sean either way. Today, the guy that I'm staying with, we were making a joke about this being a plantation. Because we got me working out here in the yard as much as I can. He's out here working in the yard as much as he can. One of his friends came over today and he was helping work in the yard. And none of us were getting paid. He's like, well, this ain't a plantation. I said, yeah, you would have to dig a hole and bury me up to my neck to plantation. Is that a tasteless joke? It don't matter. It don't fucking matter. I had kids when I was younger who used to make fun of me. Like, hey, I'm going to use the word dictation in a sentence. How's my dictation? Fuck, I heard it. I heard it all before. The problem is that we got so much of this shit going on. So many untrained professionals given positions that should be for trained professionals, because really, these guys don't want to hire people that know what they're doing or are going to do what they're supposed to, because they can't get away with all the shit that they get away with. I'm going to post a link up here for you. Now, mind you, I understand this isn't a black man who this is happening to, so a lot of people will probably not look at it, especially since I warned you. However, there's a lot of you that if it was a black man, you wouldn't take a look. You just automatically say he deserves it and so on and so forth. Alice, police, kill unarmed man. Let's see if this brings us the one we're looking for. Oh, it's a whole bunch of black folks from 1 year ago. The guy I'm looking for in specific, well, it turns, here it is. Oh, see, we talk about how terrible alcohol is and how it's involved in most domestic abuse cases and in most murder cases, believe it or not. And here we are with a beer ad. Let's see. Copy video URL. And then we'll post it here for y'all. Let's hope it's not more than, good, it's only 28. That's good. Only 28 characters long. If you type comment and it's over 200 characters long, it's not going to put it in there. A lot of my links have way more than 200, so I can't post them up here, and I do apologize for that. These police made fun of this man the whole time they were fucking killing him. Matter of fact, it says at the very beginning, warning, graphic content, your discretion is advised. I don't currently know where my phone is, and when I play stuff off of here, it usually doesn't record onto the other live stream. But we'll see if we can make it work this time. My computer just recently had an update, and After every update, everything fucking changes, and I don't know what's going to work out. So we'll turn this up. It says, on August 10th, 2016, 32-year-old Tony Timpa called 911 for help. He was off his mental health medication and had taken drugs, he told the dispatcher. We don't get to hear the dispatch tape, though. One of them officers kind of looked like Steinman. There were 3 officers there in that very beginning of the video. It's got 1 black officer and 2 white officers, and those 2 white officers are smiling about it. They think it's fucking funny. Then it says, when Dallas police officers arrived, Timpa was already handcuffed by private security guards at a store on Mockingbird Lane. Kill a mockingbird. Let's see. The Dallas Morning News recently obtained police body cam footage after a 3-year battle. A 3-year battle for records and a judge's ruling in federal court. A 3-year fucking battle. Let me tell you something about unqualified personnel. Jeffrey Dahmer had just been released from prison as a sex offender. He had a 14-year-old Asian boy at his house who was stark naked, bleeding from his genitalia and from a hole that Dahmer had attempted to drill into the boy's head. The boy was able to go free and contact 2 women who knew him in real life. So these officers showed up because these women wouldn't allow Jeffrey Dahmer to take this boy, this 14-year-old boy. These women insisted that the police needed to look at Jeffrey Dahmer's ID. If they had looked at his ID and ran his name, they would have realized that Jeffrey Dahmer was a convicted sex offender. These officers didn't, though. That 14-year-old boy, if he were alive today, he'd be 41. 41. This is how long, just in my lifetime, these things have been happening that I can trace back. But guaranteed, if I wanted to dig, I could find hundreds more just in between the day that I was born, October 18th, 1980, and the day that Dahmer did this. Now, those officers, one of them, after that situation, here's what happened. They refused to listen to these women. They refused to check Jeffrey Dahmer's ID. Jeffrey Dahmer said that it was a lover's quarrel between him and his 19-year-old boyfriend. The cops turned that boy over to Jeffrey Dahmer, a 14-year-old boy, because Jeffrey Dahmer said it was his 19-year-old lover. Those officers never checked the ID. They never tried. Those 2 women personally knew this 14-year-old boy. Later on that night, Jeffrey Dahmer raped that boy, cut off his head, and put it in his fucking freezer. What happened with those 2 officers? One of them became the president of the Police Officers Association in his state and recently celebrated his retirement. His negligence led to the death of a 14-year-old boy. And every single death after that is on those police's hands, and they should have been charged with manslaughter, with aiding and abetting a felon. With child endangerment, neglect. Of course, that don't make any difference. We still have the body camera footage from that officer. How is that even possible? In the 90s, there's body camera footage of this officer as they're leaving, making fun of homosexuals. The boy had a hole in his head that Jeffrey Dahmer tried to drill into it. He was bleeding from his genitalia, stark naked, and two women were telling these officers what was going on. But they got away with it. Why is it? 3-year battles like this. The law protects the villains. The villains. Police officers are all villains. If you are a cop, you are the bad guy. Your job is to investigate these crimes, not to cover them up. And just press play. All right, now they're using the tactics they used on me. They're putting pressure on his back. Timpa is restrained in a controversial position for more than 13 minutes. With Timpa restrained, an officer jokes about the upscale address listed on his ID. They're pushing on his back. He can't breathe. Officers attempt to replace the handcuffs put on Timpa by private security officers. They also restrain Timpa's feet. One asks about a Green Oaks cocktail special. In Colorado, what do they call this Green Oaks cocktail special? This is unqualified personnel calling up medical personnel. They're about to inject him with drugs. Unqualified personnel. Asking more unqualified personnel to do something illegal. In Colorado, they call this a B-51 or a B-52. I'm sorry. Same thing in Nebraska. That's what they called it at Scottsbluff Hospital. B-51 generally contains Ativan, Haldol, and Benadryl. Upon occasion, it also contains, well, you guys are going to think this is fucked up, ketamine. Ketamine. One asks about the Green Oaks cocktail special in an apparent reference to a sedative used at Green Oaks Hospital, a private psychiatric facility in Denver, or in Dallas. Officers do this nationwide. Now, in this particular case, it's a little bit different. People are going to say, oh, well, it must be okay because he was on drugs. No, what officers did to him was kill him. Officers are trained to know not to do these things, yet they do them anyway. They're also taught when they can and cannot get away with it. This guy had an upscale ID. When you got an upscale ID as a white guy, well, that's about like being a black person and having Black Lives Matter on your side. That's how powerful that is. If this guy had been homeless, we'd have never even heard about him. The news never would have fought to get that information. Train! Officers continue applying pressure on Timpa's back. As they laugh and joke, Timpa stops making sounds. Ah, he's got schizophrenia. Mentally ill. Ah, he's got schizophrenia. Ah, he's got schizophrenia. Ah, he's got schizophrenia. Does that make it okay? No, the fuck it doesn't. It's not any more right to do it to somebody who's considered mentally ill than it is to do it to a black person or a Native American or an immigrant. Wrong is fucking wrong. I mean, this dude's knuckles are white from pushing on this dude's back. In my case, I told them in multiple occasions that I had altercations with the police. Altercations that I didn't start, as well as medical staff. I can't breathe. Now, when those officers in Boulder Hospital tried claiming that I tried to bite them, I have no teeth. No teeth. Now, the security guard there in South Dakota, oh yeah, I bit the fuck out of her. Big fucking difference in situations, though. She was taking my beard and holding it against my face with a face hold. Couldn't hear that, could you? I'm saying I can't breathe. I can't breathe. She had me in a cross-face hold. She was using my beard to suffocate me. And I did the only thing I could. I opened up and I clamped down on that bitch with my gums. Fuck yes, I bit the hell out of her without teeth. They were assaulting me and did so repeatedly. And they can continue to do this until you force them to use body cameras. Not just the police. Every psychiatric facility in America. Every old folks' home in America. We cannot afford to let these villains get away. We cannot afford these people special rights. They need to be held more accountable because of their position of power, not less. Now, mind you, at this point, there's an officer who's got his knee in the small of this man's back. There's also an officer who's pushing on this man's upper back, so he can't belly breathe and he can't chest breathe. Any of y'all who are nursing staff, you know the difference. If you're not nursing staff, look it up. They're preventing him from both. One of them is how you breathe normally. The other one is how you breathe in an emergency. Like when you're hyperventilating or when you've gone on a long run. With me, they did the same thing. Luckily, I didn't fucking die. But I was in fight or flight because I knew that these techniques kill people. Because unlike most of y'all, I'm not an uneducated idiot who just believes everything he's told. There they are laughing. It says Timpa isn't moving. Officers start to ask him if he is okay. At this point, they already know that he's not responsive. When the officer asked him a question, the other officer pushed on his back and made his body move. Well, it looks like he nodded. No, 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 no. At this point, they're playing for their body cameras. Because they were stupid and left them on, and now they're a little bit past the point of no return. He's not out cold, he's fucking dead. As the officers crack jokes about waking up Timpa, a paramedic administers a powerful sedative. The guy is out fucking cold, he doesn't need drugs! By the way, that's not Timpa speaking. That's officers making fun of Timpa. Mind you, this is a white guy that they're doing this to. Is this not grossing you the fuck out? Here they are putting drugs in him. I don't know. He just got quiet. You just put an intense amount of pressure on this man's upper back and lower back and are holding him in that position. He's out cold. Why the fuck are you putting drugs in him? Press play again. At this point, that paramedic should be in prison. Sounded like he's snoring. I can't hear any snoring. And these unqualified personnel are laughing about these drugs. It says officers lift Timpa onto a gurney. Timpa's body is limp. His eyes partially open. Officer Dustin Dillard asks if Timpa is breathing. Nah, he just moved. Now they're playing for the camera. They know he didn't move. And we see 3 officers in this picture. One of them is the officer that was smiling at the very beginning. One of them is an officer with a big ass fucking shit eating grin on his face with glasses. And then there's another officer, big ass shit eating grin with fucking glasses. What do you think? How long can you survive without oxygen, officer? Now they're doing something called a chest rub. They take their knuckles like this and they rub it on your chest. When I overdosed trying to kill myself after Natalie died, before they caught Joseph Michael Lopez, people were getting a hold of me telling me that people were threatening their fucking kids, threatening their families, and threatening them, sending them pictures of their black children with nooses drawn around their neck. One of those women told me that she was put on a ban because she posted that. That's Cara Rogers, aka Cara Mia. This woman is a fucking snake. Most of y'all who watch these fucking sites are fucking snakes. Do you know the difference between news and propaganda? No, you don't, because we don't have news anymore. We just have propaganda. You might as well the tabloids. They're about as fucking honest. Now, mind you that there is a black officer laughing and a Hispanic officer who are laughing. It's not just a white issue. You need to separate your assholery. If your issue is with police misconduct, that is what we need to address. If that's what we need to address. At this point in time, it's pretty fucking obvious that the blue line of bullshit is complete bullshit. We have black officers doing these things, like Waylon Lolotai. We've got Hispanic officers doing these things, like Officer Trujillo. We've got white officers doing these things, like Steinman and French. Is this a race issue? Or do these people have a complete and total lack of respect for human life? Fuck your statues. I'll tell you what. Let's say I pull down a statue of Christopher Columbus. You can make another statue. You cannot replace George Floyd. Once in the ambulance, paramedics notify the officers that Timpa is not breathing. These officers knew he wasn't breathing. They were playing for the fucking camera. Meanwhile, he is on this thing. He's in cuffs. He's got his arms behind his back. The way they put the cuffs on me, and then they put me on one of them motherfucking things like that, it was excruciating pain, and they thought it was fucking hilarious. I'm posting this to my Facebook for a moment. I'm going to type the B-52 shot in Colorado is the same thing. This man was murdered. All right, it says CCR typed, I've got to go make supper, but I hope you have a great night, Sean. Take care and be as safe as you can. Good night. Yes, sir. Gibson Smith typed us some Morse code and typed, I admire your manly beard. Now let's see what this man typed. Morsecode. And then we will go to 4 dots. 1, 2, 3, 4. Space. Guess you guys can use the internet for this. Dot. Space. Let's see. Dot dash dot dot. Dot dash dot dot. Another dot. Shit. I fucked that up, didn't I? Dot dash dot dot. I fucked that up, didn't I? Dot dash dot dot. And then let's see. It says hello. And then 3 dashes. I just want to see it for myself. 1, 2, 3. Enter. H E L L O. Absolutely. It is hello. How many of y'all want to learn Morse code? I think that's a good idea. And thank you, Mr. Gibson Smith. We the people gotta fucking do something about this. I want all of y'all racist white folks to do me a favor. All of you who are in the KKK, all of you who are Aryan brothers, especially you who are Aryan brothers. I know where that got started. Most of y'all were locked up as kids and got beaten up for being white. I get that. I get that. You've had to endure racism too. You didn't like it, did you? So instead of feeding it to a bunch of people that didn't give it to you, instead of hating all blacks for it, Yeah, I can see plainly that there are plenty of black folks who just hate all white people. I can see that. I read that shit every fucking day. No, it's not right for them, but it's also not right for you. The rights that you're fighting for, the rights in specific that most of y'all in the KKK and Aryan Brotherhood are bitching about, black folks are fighting for those same rights. You aware of that? Are you aware that black people don't make the laws? Lawmakers make the laws. That's not a skin color thing. They make the laws based on the information that they have at hand. Now, when you have information that is askew, or you have situations where officers choose victims and then railroad them, when they are railroaded, that adds to a national statistics. It's bullshit. If you're a racist white person, whether you want to admit it or not, these are your rights that they're fighting for too. Now, I get it. You see stuff like what we got going on here in Nebraska, where they're wanting to make it specifically just for minorities. Yeah, that's racist as fuck. Fuck that. Gibson Smith typed, as a retired police officer and Army vet, I have many black friends. Also, America is a shit show right now. That is absolutely true. There's a lot of officers that, when this first happened, had a lot of information for me. But as it went along, most of them became too afraid to speak up. William Barr, that's a name that most y'all are familiar with. Why is it that you're familiar with that? Let's type up the name William Barr. I know quite a few people with famous people's names. Jamie Lee Curtis. Is it the Jamie Lee Curtis from the movies? No. William Barr, United States Attorney General. Pretty big name, isn't it? It's also the name of a former officer in Colorado, William Barr. He married a woman named Jessica Martindale, who was also a police officer in Colorado. So William Barr, he was a deputy, and I know that his wife ran the 16th Street Mall for a while, ran the block. And I don't know if Will did or not. I don't know if they work for the same department. I don't know if they're allowed to work for the same department. That's a bunch of bullshit I don't personally know about. But he had a partner who was stalking a woman. And he arrested his partner for stalking a woman. He lost his job, and the charges against his partner were dropped. He told me this after Nat was telling him about how crooked the fucking cops are. He said, Sean, you're not going to win this. It's a matter of numbers. That judge has 1,800 people that he's got to go through in a month, and you're just one of 1,800. You're just a number, dude. And I don't mean that offensively, but you got to look at it as, yeah, that's it. You are just one of many. We are not the Borg. I'm not 7 of 9 or 11 of 15 or 4 of 98. I'm Sean David Schwartz. When it comes to police officers asking for a, what do they call it? Not, I keep saying Greenbrier special, but it's green something special in that video. It's fucked. In Colorado, they call it a, well, let's see. We'll type it up. B-52. Boeing B-52 Stratofortress. That's right. It'll make you sky high. Oh my God. Look at this list. It says B-52 bomber, World War II, and immediately the next one on the list is B-52 cocktail. Let's read this shit. Oh, this one's a mixed drink. B-52 medical term, or B-52 medical shot. What does this one say? B-52 Urban Dictionary. A B-52 is an injection of 3 different drugs that is usually used on psych patients or patients that are being combative. It is usually given IM, intramuscular. It's an injection. It says, what medicine is in a B52 shot? Currently, common practice involves one benzodiazepine and one typical antipsychotic in the following combinations. Midazolam, 5 milligrams, 4 IM. Droperidol, 5 milligrams, 4 IM. Lorazepam, 2 milligrams IV. When I was saying 4, I should have said IV. / IM plus haloperidol, 5 milligrams IV, IM. B52, Benadryl, 50 milligrams. Haloperidol, 5 milligrams. Lorazepam, 2 milligrams IM. Let's see. This one, it says B52 injection Benadryl, 5 milligrams of Haldol, 2 milligrams of Ativan, used to sedate uncontrollable psychotic patients. Uncontrollable. If you're denying somebody a police officer and you're doing the illegal shit that they were doing at Clearview, yeah, that's not uncontrollable. It is entirely controllable. We need body cameras. How many old people have we found in the last few years that had been raped by hospital staff? How many children in the last few years being raped by hospital staff? The foster care system has lost 18,000 children. Lost them. Doesn't know where the fuck they are. 18,000. An average of 5 children per day die in foster care. Per day. Gibson Smith typed, I had a lady call me and my army buddy's evil because we had to shoot at people. The problem with her statement was that the squadron next to mine had 12 soldiers kill themselves because of war. Yeah, you know, in some of the videos that I made at Tabby and Graham's, there's a American flag in the background that belonged to a man named Nathan. He shot himself on home leave. I got the flag because his parents are ultra Christian and their son would never do such a thing. That flag is still at Tabby and Graham's. You know, the thing is that when you and your army buddies were over there shooting at people, chances are pretty good that you joined the army at 18. You didn't know the real world. What you knew was your parents' house, your parents' rules, your parents' ethics, your parents' beliefs, and your parents' bias. If you'd have been homeless, you probably wouldn't have joined the military. You would have probably been against it from the start. Having to shoot at people. See, you go over there for your government, but you come home on your own. You're not shooting at people at that point to kill them. In most cases, you're shooting at that point because you want to go home. You want to survive this shit. They're shooting me, I better shoot back. But at the same time, you're in their backyard. We need our rights fought for here in the United States. We don't need our rights fought for in Iraq, especially when fights in Iraq and fights in Afghanistan are actually taking away from our rights. Did you just say the socialist communists are going to take care of me? Oh, sorry, he's on the phone with somebody else. I got lots of dead friends. I got friends that died in the military. When I say that American soldiers, I don't have anything good to say about American soldiers. And that's a terrible thing to say. I got friends that are in the military, current serving members of the military. But our Constitution is gone, so what are they fighting for? We got good cops, but they're afraid that they'll get in trouble if they speak up. So they are bad cops. They may not intend to be bad cops, but they're afraid, and they allow terrible things to happen because they're afraid. They're afraid they'll get in trouble. They're afraid they will lose their jobs. They're afraid that trumped up charges will be brought against them if they tell. Most of the officers that I considered good cops, he joined parts of the Army food. Do you know what? I've eaten K rations. They're fucking nasty. I've eaten modern MREs. Those are fucking bomb. Oh my god. Except for the vegan. I don't think that they have their vegan food prepared by somebody who's an actual vegan. Because I've eaten vegan food that's pretty good, or sorry, vegetarian. I've eaten vegetarian food that's pretty good, but that army ration shit is fucking nasty. Here in town, when I first can actually 100% verify that it was Officer Hahn, I had a box of MREs. Never been to the mess hall. But I got a box of MREs from Ben Beardsley in Sidney, Nebraska, and there were some travelers that came through. I was over at Laura Nelson's, and those travelers, they looked hungry, they looked hot, they looked like they really needed to take a break, and they pulled over right over there on Main Street. We're just off of Main Street. And of course, they got harassed by a dude in town who's a racist and an asshole by the name of Roy Wilmuth, who called the police on them. And Officer Hahn showed up, and I explained to them, all right, just sit with me. I'm going to sit with you because the cops are probably going to show up. They're probably going to fuck with you. And it'll help if somebody's here with a local ID. So Officer Hahn shows up. He doesn't know me from Adam. He checks everyone's IDs, realizes that I'm a local. And mind you, I brought that box of MREs over, and we've been eating these MREs for, well, actually, they ate them. I'd already eaten. But they were allowed to get up, and they were allowed to leave, and they were allowed to do a lot of things that they wouldn't have been allowed to do if there hadn't been a local ID there. Roy Wilmuth sat in his vehicle at the end of the block outside of the masonry lodge here, just staring. Just staring. For nearly an hour, he sat there just staring. And he sat there staring until everyone was gone but me. And when he drove past me, I gave him the bird. Fuck you, Roy Wilmuth, you're a bitch. When we have unqualified personnel, like police officers, getting to make medical decisions, especially when trying to turn in those officers, and those very same officers are allowed to go misrepresent the situation to hospital staff. Those hospital staff aren't going to listen to a goddamn word you had to say because an officer said otherwise. They're going to inject you with those drugs because the officers asked, and they do that nationwide. That's their professional courtesy, and it's literally killing people. If you are an EMT, a nurse, or a glorified goddamn babysitter, and you inject somebody with drugs because a police officer asked you to, you should be charged with attempted manslaughter or attempted murder 100% of the time. And thank you, Mr. Gibson Smith.